This week on True Bloods, the Swannies go over to Perth and get a W for Dean Cox's first win as coach. We run through how bloody good James Jordan is. We consider how close the needle is moving for Chad, and what else, Steeble?
Well, the Chad is basically signed. I'm calling it now. You can clip this. The Chad is staying. Like and subscribe to the YouTube. Let's go.
Jeez, this is the most one-eyed podcast.
It's what we're here to do. There is only one side in this competition. It's game-changing.
It's absolutely game-changing, Deeble.
Riddle me that, Mads.
Yeah, riddle me that, Deeble.
Do you remember? It's what we're here to do.
This is True Bloods, the number one independent Sydney Swans fan podcast, and we are back in the AFL Today Studio to review the first win of the season against the Dockers, and we're going to embrace the bye as well. We need this time off, and I am back with Madison Clark.
Yes.
How are you, Clarko?
Yes, I'm good. How
Yes.
good?
It's just
We're
good.
back.
It's just good to be back on the winners list, mate. It's just that the vibes are back.
We are so back.
We're a big morale pod, as you
Big
know,
morale
Mads. And
pod.
the morale is just high.
Huge
at
morale
True
pod.
Bloods HQ. We've got the live event coming up this Saturday. We've got the bye, but we've got the live event as well, Faithful. So make sure you get your tickets to that one. We got the plug in early. That's what we do here, Mads.
We do. We love a plug. We love a live event. We love the faithful, and we love wins in Perth.
Oh, how good is it?
Love wins in Perth. Backs against the wall. Ugly game of football. That's one of the games that if Andrew Demetriou watched it, he'd complain on national television. It was not. I mean, looking back on it, actually, I'll hold the rest of my point there, Deebs, because I watched the replay and I watched the KO Mini, and I actually thought less ugly and just more tense, tough, gutsy football. There are a lot of skill errors, don't get me wrong, but the way we hung in there was a testament.
Yeah, and that's where I think I sort of lie when you talk about that. It's just the finishing wasn't there. It just wasn't a classy performance, but at the same time, we showed some guts to sort of really fight that one out. And when we one of the Freo players lined up to put him sort of 17 points up or
Erasmus?
So. Yeah, it could have well have been Erasmus, and he smacked it into the post, and it was still
Patrick
game
Voss.
on. Yeah, well, you're telling the story. I couldn't tell you who it was.
Patrick Voss.
But yeah, when he missed that, it was game on, and we found ways to convert on the scoreboard. You saw Riley Bice getting out.
Big Bice pod.
Taking a bounce, kicking, and that's what we needed was someone to take it upon themselves and finish. And for it to be a second gamer, that's huge from Bicey. And what we saw last week, just that little bit of class factor, the composure under pressure, which has been something we haven't been able to do so far this year.
Yep.
To get it from a second gamer in Bicey to sort of reinvigorate us in that last quarter and get us going. I think he only had the 4 touches in the last quarter, Mads, but a lot of them were score involvements.
Classy.
And he was, we're just a big Bicey pod here.
Big Bicey pod. You can tell that he's, although, that was his first AFL goal and his 5th AFL quarter, maybe. You can tell he is at the level, very much at the level, very much has the composure, and he's got a great shoe on him.
Yeah,
and that's something we're lacking when you look at guys out of the team like McInerney and Errol. That's where I feel we just that's a missing link there. With our entries inside 50, we just need those elite ball users that we're missing. But he's playing that role really well at the moment and hopefully continues to.
Yeah, even that play where he got out on the run and sort of ran himself into trouble, ducked back and sort of still found that short 45 to bring it back into the corridor. That was just like he didn't panic under pressure. That's a mature head on a player. It's only his second AFL game and he's been able to pull off, and create like that.
It's composure, Deeps.
It's sensational. And that's
it's fantastic.
I think you've got to look at this recruiting, right? The mature age recruit, and that can take like to put it out there, it's like someone like a Corey Warner or so, who's only got 12, 13 games, right? He doesn't have the composure of a Riley Bias at the moment. And I think we saw that at stages during the game on Sunday night. But that's what you get when you've sort of had a few more years, not necessarily at AFL level, but in the system.
Yes.
That's what comes.
Correct. And yeah, like at the end of the day, it's just another really elite ball user that I'm really excited to watch grow as a player. Because what is he, 24?
Yeah, I think he's pushing the 20. Yeah, up
beautiful.
Around that mid-20s. Yeah,
he's just I couldn't be happier with that goal in the context of the game. It's an incredible finish. So I'm really thrilled with that. In terms of, I guess, something I was fascinated with ahead of the game is what the situation was going to be with Tom McCartin going back. Now,
I've got a bit to say on this.
So do I. There's a lot of media pundits that have said that is experiment over for Tom McCartin going forward. Wrong. That's absurd. Like these are. I'm not going to name names, but these.
Name them, mate.
No, these are national media pundits saying that Tom Morris is one of them, saying that it's done.
Yeah, well, that's not the case,
and
right?
It's not the case. It's just because Melican's out.
I'm a big facts guy.
You're a big facts guy.
Right?
We're a big facts pod.
And you got to look at what was going on, right? We had Joel Armadi up forward, and that was it. McLean was out injured, so was Logan McDonald. There's your three players up forward, right? You simply need two key forwards, right? And there was nothing else but for Tommy to go forward, right? And through necessity, he went forward, right? You had Melican fit, you had Joel Hamling coming to the side, and they were doing it up back.
Correct.
Right? Melican goes out injured. Guess what? Tommy's got to go back through necessity.
You have to.
It's not an experiment thing, Mads. And that's what the media, they want to be, we called it 2.5 weeks ago. The experiment's done. It's like, no, it's through necessity. It's horses for courses. And that's what you've got to do, Mads. Depending who you got available, you got to pick your best side and play him in the positions that are required.
It is horses for courses, and the thing about Tom McCartin is this is just going to be you're trying to develop him as an agile player that can do what's required of him when required.
Yeah.
And you look at a game like that. What I do worry about is when you're constantly going forward and back. If you are, you can't really get settled.
Yeah.
Can't really get continuity in the position you're playing. However, I mean, you could look at his stat sheet on the weekend and go, he got given a big bubble bath by Josh Tracy. It's just not the case. It's just not the case. You couldn't, when they got clearances, we beat them in clearances, but when they got clearances in the middle, for some reason, they always just got it cleanly out the back, and they were able to deliver into their forward 50 with limited pressure and hit up Tracy on the chest. Aside from that, he had 9 intercept possessions and 7 spoils, and was instrumental in keeping things calm when they were absolutely peppering, especially in the final quarter.
I think he took 4 intercept marks as well, and that's what we've been missing in the first 2 weeks.
Correct.
Was that interceptability. And look, is Tommy probably a better backman? Yes. Right, but
he's a natural backman, right?
Well, he started his career up forward too, right?
He's worked into the way he plays football. I would say he's a natural backman.
But it's who you've got available and the positions that you need filled. And I'm just not subscribing to this bullshit narrative that they're putting in the media.
Yeah,
but
I agree.
It was. Going back to how Tracy kicked his goals, right? Was it Tracy?
Yeah.
He kicked the 4?
Yeah, it's Tracy. The new Matt Pavlich.
Matthew Pavlich looked a bit like that.
Well, he's a gun.
Look, there was something with our contest. Although we won clearance and our contested ball was okay, I think they still just pepped us. But we just seemed to be getting sucked to the offensive side of the contest. We saw it with the Chad a couple of times, and the other guys in there. And
on the wing that time there was a one-on-one contest. Chad was out the back.
Chad was past it. That was in the last quarter when you're sort of trying to win it. I can sort of get that, but during the game, it just got out of contest so easy, and they were able to flow into that forward 50, and Tracy was just hitting up and kicking goals. I think he only took that one contested mark on Tommy, right, and converted in that first quarter. But, it's definitely it was a pretty good game from Tommy, although
I thought it was a really good game.
You've had four directly kicked on you.
But there's nothing you can do. The the kicks that came in to forward 50, there's nothing you
Zero.
can do to defend them. There's just not.
Yeah,
There's just not. But every time it was bombed in, he was there. He was there to mop up. He was great at ground level. He was great in the air. I couldn't have been happier with him. And I'm really happy with the way Joel Hamling's going as well.
Yeah.
We've found someone there who is above the serviceable level that has experience that can play a role. You don't hear about him much, and that's great.
It baffles the mind why we didn't see it last year. It's when you know this is when you've had a coach who's been in the game, 15, 16 years. He's got his favourites, and he's obviously just looked past Joel Hamling and probably had nothing to do with the recruitment of him either.
I'm wondering, did we have that many injuries in our back six
Well, Aaron
last
Francis
year?
played 5, 6,
He
7
did,
games,
yeah.
man. There was definitely opportunity for him to come in.
You're certainly taking Hamling over Francis,
Yeah.
aren't you? No, not a knock on Francis. I think Francis, when he comes in, he plays his role really well. But the way Hamling can kick, I reckon, almost 30% longer than Francis can
Yeah,
kick.
you're a big fan of his boot.
Big fan
aren't
of
you?
the boot on Hamling.
Yes.
As I said, the joke is over. I know who he is. It's over.
Who wears? Number 29.
That'd be the great Joel Hamling.
Very good. Very good. Now, you know whose first half I was especially impressed with?
Who's
Mads?
that, mate?
And I thought he used the ball really well and sort of goes back to that ball use thing that you were talking about last week. Was Braden Campbell.
Yes.
I thought he weighted the ball really well
Correct.
this week. And when he had to pierce one through, he did. I reckon he went at 75, 80%. And
Good areas,
yeah,
Deebs.
and this is what I mean. He's got it in his hands 16 times this week. It's not your 10 or 11. And when you're starting to get up to that, between sort of 15 and 20, that's when you actually have an impact on the game as that sort of half forward. He was even sort of coming off half back a little bit.
Yep.
I thought Braden Campbell, but was really happy with how he was using the ball.
For sure. No, this is the thing. You've got continuity into these guys now. They're going to consistently get games, and we're going to see them get better and better. And they've had 3 games that are against, teams touted as genuine finals, at the very least, finals teams. And they're standing up and they're doing really well. And Braden Campbell's specifically, the boot on him, I trust his boot more than sans Errol, as he's injured. I trust his boot more than anyone else by far.
Yeah, he's got to back it in a little bit too.
Yeah, I
reckon
think so. He gave that one off.
Yeah, it's like have a ping. See, we don't have a big issue with guys having pings from around that 50 when they got the leg.
Got to have the license. Surely he's got the license.
It's even the Chad, sort of had that ping from 60, tugged it slightly. But I rather them have that sort of kick than put the dinky kick up to the top of the square, in my opinion, for mine.
For yours, Deeble.
Yes.
For yours. Now, what do you think of Haynes' game? Question without notice.
Question without notice. Look, I think Haynes is just playing the role at the moment. He's definitely not starring, that's for sure.
He's playing more of an inside role, that's for sure.
It is, but he's a bit fumbly at the moment is one thing, and the one critique I would have on his game. There was one in the centre square which we saw which we were losing.
We lost it.
We lost it.
Lost
We're like,
it.
come on, Haynes. And this is like when he's had such a stellar season as he did last year. To when you do see him fumble and you're holding him to this high standard, you're like, geez, what's going on? And then it was a coach killer, that one in the last 10 seconds where he sort of fumbled it on the boundary, wasn't able to get it out, and it was just banged inside inside 50, D50, and if there was sort of 5 more seconds on the clock, they're having a shot for goal.
So close to losing that game.
Oh, big time, mate.
But what was ridiculous, that kick that Chad made, that was 25 metres.
Man, the
it came off his boot, and they're like, no, 15.
15.
What?
How can you tell?
Do you have a crystal ball? Matt Stevic might not have been Matt Stevic. I'm going to assume it's Matt Stevic. Because that's something Matt Stevic could do to us.
I reckon we're known as a side who goes short a fair amount of the time, right? And I reckon they've got it in for us. They're like, the Swans kick short a lot of the time.
To be fair, it happened a lot over the round.
Yeah.
It was happening a lot in the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood game.
Yeah, it is a thing that they're sort of trying to drive home. But when it's going 20, 25 metres, the only reason it got called is because it went backwards.
Deebs, I can't kick that far. I can't kick how far Chad kicked it.
You can't kick over a Doozy can, Mads.
I haven't got a bad show on me. Let's be fair to me. I'm not an under 14s grand final player, premiership player. That's for sure.
True.
That'll be getting a run at the live show. I'll tell you that much. But we came very close. I just wish we were a little bit more composed with how we did that. I wish Haynes had either put that out of bounds or taken a mark, because that was life shortening in the emotions of it.
It's where we should be a lot more well drilled than that, right? After Joel kicked that goal, and there's a minute 30, minute 40 to go, right? It's something where we need to be able to kill the game there. And I understand it from the middle, right? If you lose a centre clearance, it's hard to lock down the game. But that ball got back into our forward line. We won that clearance, and we were unable to lock up the contest.
Well, you've got to do it's the equivalent to a 2-minute drill in football, right? And you've got to be able to kill the game.
It's a real fundamental thing where it's like you've got a new coach, and it probably hasn't been drilled into the guys, and we're lacking some personnel out there. It's like if you've got an Errol Goulden out there and you've got a Callum Mills out there directing the troops in that contest, like I don't think it's unfolding like I did.
I agree.
And it didn't cost us the 4 points on the weekend, but it could well in the future.
Well, so I think that'll bring it to the forefront now, and then it'll be dealt with.
Well, right, you think about Collingwood back in 2023, how many times they got themselves into that position, having to lock down games for 2, 3, 4 minutes. That can win you games. That can win you flags. Like that will be a huge thing, that last minute 30. It was frustrating as a supporter to watch.
Speaking of sort of defence winning you flags, Deebs, how did you think we were on transition when the ball would get turned over defensively? I thought we struggled in that regard a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit. There's It gets back to that clunky factor, right?
It's a personnel thing for mine, Deeble.
For yours, Mads.
You're just missing too many quality players that organise the troops in that regard. You know, two-way runners. You got Errol, right? Runs 2 ways harder than anyone. And you're missing out on him in terms of, follow my lead. But we got crunched on turnover.
It's funny. It's something that's just not getting brought up in the mainstream at all, is how much we're missing Errol. There's no one really talking about that. It's amazing.
Well, I don't talk about us at all, Deebs. I don't talk about us
would be lucky to get
in any way, shape or form.
That's it. That's why you're tuning in to the pod, isn't it, Mads?
That's what we came to do.
That's what we're here to do. But, look, we're really missing Errol and what he brings, and I think you don't know what you got till it's gone, Mads.
That's correct.
And we don't have Errol.
Didn't that just roll off the tongue nicely?
It's good to have some fluency, in the old sayings when they come off. It's
less
nice.
clunkiness, just more
look, Mads,
continuity.
what are we? Show 4, show 5 in the new
we are.
studio. It's starting to flow quite nicely for mine.
Straps nicely for yours,
Yeah,
Deeble.
it's very good. Very good. Now, I'll tell you someone who did bring that defensive element. And if I read his stats out to you, Mads, if you didn't know the name, I don't reckon you would know who it was. But he had 9 touches, kicked 2 goals, and had 5 tackles. And I think he was a big difference in the game. Hayden McLean.
Fantastic. And he talked today about how he's had to get the confidence back as well as the physical side of it. And Coxie's been really good in that regard and gotten him up sort of mentally and physically as well. And boy, was that on display. Geez, he competes. Yeah. He's a genuine competitor.
Mate, the Dostridge, it's something that we've probably underestimated. And I think we're getting it back with, having the Dos up forward.
Well, he played every game last season.
Exactly right. And having Hamling back there and, Tommy going back, it's the key pillars.
Yes.
Right. That's sort of what comes into question sometimes is the spine of our side. But if we get these guys going, Joel Armati rocking up, I thought that was, talking of Joel Armati, right, I thought that was pretty courageous from him on the weekend. He copped that corky, right, and
Georgie Molnar said he was in the hospital.
He was gone. He was
gone
done.
For all money.
Off for scans, I reckon he went with Georgie Molnar. But no, he came back on and, put his hand up, got rid of his opponent, took the mark, and kicked the match-winning goal.
That was one of the strongest one-on-one contests I've ever seen Joel in.
Yeah, it was smart too. Just lost him too. That's where the defender can get ball watching and,
Ford Craft Deebs.
Worried about his opponent and, and taking that time. Like the way we worked that inside 50 was how we hadn't worked it inside 50 the whole day.
Who kicked it to him, Rowie?
Yeah, Heaney
Had a good game.
Heaney
Had a
took,
good
took
game.
his time and
Yep.
got that ball across to Rowie, which was a great piece of work from Haynes. And then, Rowie, isolated the contest and found Joel
Bloody
with
oath.
a contested grab.
What a team. How lucky are we?
Yeah, it's good. It's just
Wow.
great to compete like that, mate.
It's great to come out with the win when you don't look like it. I mean, granted, I think for large parts of the game we played better than them. But when you're depleted, when you're over in the West and you're against a really competent forward line and back line and midfield, let's no doubts about it. Like they haven't probably performed to expectation thus far, Freo. But they've got really, really elite talent on each of those lines. And a guy over there depleted with a young side. Bloody phenomenal. And before we get talking about the Chad Warners and the Jimmy Jordans of it all, I just want to talk a little bit about Pistol Pete Laddams.
The pistol.
Wow.
Eshay bar.
How good to come into the side, to cop what he's copped for a very, very bloody long time. Very long time.
Very long time, Madison.
Very long time, Deeble. He has copped it. He's been the whipping boy. There are some people within our community that despise Peter Laddams for no good reason. No good reason at all. And he just showed them all what he can do.
When I saw Pistol Pete, Eshay bar, go out on the gallop, out of half back, and I was like, am I seeing two lizards? I said, no, it's actually Peter Laddams, Eshay bar, right? And when he puts it on the left, takes some territory, it was like, what's going on with
sold
Pete?
some candy.
Yeah,
It was great.
It was so good. It's just the last person you would expect to be running off half back is Peter Laddams.
And he puts one through the middle, bloody 55
Went back,
metres out.
yeah, when we needed
55
one.
might be a bit of
No,
mayo,
that
but
one was
it
from
a
outside
while.
50.
It was a while. So, look, seeing Brody Grundy operate around now.
Yeah, he's a good discussion point.
Well, the key thing about Brody Grundy and why everybody was excited for him to come to our club and touted him as an elite ruckman for so long is his ability to get around the ground and his follow-up and his ground ball gets and things like that. Unfortunately, he's just not moving the way he used to.
Yep.
And I don't want to say fragile, but his body seems a little bit exposed.
Do you think he's labouring around a little bit?
I've used the term labouring before talking about Brody Grundy in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, which concerns me. But I mean, we all expected it at some stage. To see Laddams come in and perform that role, and to see McLean back in as well, it just means I feel a little bit more comfortable. I feel less exposed.
Do you think there was a bit of a directive for Broads to sort of, they've taken the extra tall over there. They've played Peter Laddams. They're like, Broads,
2.5 ruckman, pretty much.
Yeah, go out and, give it your all for 2.5, 3/4, right? And then, we're going to sub you. You reckon?
Considering it was 35-degree heat, I think there was some thought behind it. But I mean, it still doesn't change the fact that there's been a bit of a drop off. I think.
I think so, but I think he did have his time in this game. There was some lovely tap work out of the middle. We were getting around him hard. It was a nice one over the top. And,
there's no doubt that's all still there, right?
Yeah.
And what he's potentially lacked a little bit of, he was actually a really strong marking target on the wing when we were sort of kicking in and things like that. He was actually sticking those marks, which is something that we weren't doing a great deal of as a team.
Yeah.
So, you're not saying you're not putting a line through him and saying he's completely cooked. It's just he can't do what he once did, and that's just father time. That's just what happens.
Yeah,
but
it's
it's
a bit
good
of
knowing,
adjustment.
there's other options there should anything happen. And Pete Laddams just played really, really well.
Yeah, he did. It's good to
Credit
see.
where credit's due,
Absolutely,
Deebles.
you got to pay it when it's due, mate. We love to see that. Now, I reckon a guy who is leading our best and fairest at the moment, Jimmy Jordan.
Right?
He was sensational on the weekend. Took another scalp in Sarong.
Yes.
When you're taking the likes of Neil 1 week, Sarong so right the next week. It's really good.
Do you reckon there's a list in his locker? Just
tick him off.
Bang, done. Bang, done. There has to
Bit
be.
of Billy Madison, putting the line through. There's
correct.
a bit of that going.
Correct.
Big red texter.
Yeah.
I'd love to see that. But yeah, he's had the 24, 10 clearances, and that's probably the thing that nearly a better game than last week. His offense was great as well, taking out
10
a player like
clearances.
Sarong, 10 clearances, 24 touches yourself,
5 tackles.
It's
It's a really solid. Both sides of the ball, midfield performance.
Yeah, and it's such a weapon to have.
Sarong had to go forward.
He had to, and then to try and impact the game and to have that sort of weapon to be at your disposal to be able to use it when you need it. It's fantastic, and I think it elevates his game as well.
Yes,
like I back him in as a midfielder too, but I think when he does have that tagging role, he just sort of ups his game.
Yeah, for sure. Al?
This is just going off important breaking news. Cal Toomey has just tweeted out, Chad Warner is expected to stay at Sydney, all trending towards a 2-year extension through to 2027, including the Star Zone actions, commitment to the Swans with the post-game celebration. Warner is in no rush, but clubs feel staying is now favoured. More on their show tomorrow.
Woo! Well, you've seen it all.
Good.
You've seen it all over our social media. This is just the vibe we've been getting.
The needle's moving.
The needle. It's just continually moving. So it's call Polly, get the needle going further. Get it going. Get it going. It's
we expected it, right? And this is probably a good opportunity to speak about the great Chad. And boy, was the Chad great. Just the ability to finish, the ability to hit targets, the ability to just evade tackles. He's the complete footballer, and he's integral to our side. And just the jumper pull at the end, jumping on Coxie, you just knew that something was cooking. I'm bloody thrilled.
Yeah,
bloody thrilled.
I just love how Chad's the guy to try and win it. You know, had 10 touches in that last quarter, just like grunt work and just trying to get the boys over the line.
You know what he is? He's clutch.
Yeah, he loves it. And not every player out there on a footy field wants it in their hand to try and win the game, right?
He lives for it.
He froths it.
Yeah,
he froths it, and he loves the blood. So it's like, I don't think, as soon as I saw him grabbing his jumper like that post-game, it's like that moved the needle for me so much.
You look like a pretty big idiot if you then go, no, I'm not going to sign.
Yeah. But no,
like
it's huge from the Chad. He's been phenomenal.
Massive. I mean, look, it's, again, we've spoken about this ad nauseum. It's a great place to be.
Yeah.
And they're all such close mates. And that's so important in sort of keeping players as sticky as possible.
Well, you touched on it before when we were having a chat with Paps on his podcast,
Correct.
sort of talking about the morale, the vibe.
So he was asked on the early crow, considering sort of going into this game, either the two options are you go in 0-3 or you go in 1-2, and how critical it is to go in 1-2 because it's, you know, a hard thing to have to dwell on the fact that you haven't won a game as yet in the season for an entire week more before you get to have another crack at it. And he said externally that may have been sort of the viewpoint, but it was business as usual, or BAU as we like to call it at the in the corporate world.
Oh
people.
yes, is that one of the KPIs?
That's
I don't know.
But that's, you know, it's completely standard for them, and they're all relaxed, they're all happy, they're all enjoying their football, and they, like we've pointed out, a few things go differently in the Hawthorn and Brisbane game, and we win.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like you're getting belted in those games. Our footy's where it needs to be, sans a few tweaks and lack of personnel.
Yeah, it's not that far off.
And that's why you sort of look at that and you go 1-2. Yeah, and that's why I said last week, am I worried about it? No, I wasn't. Right?
You know what they say, Mads? It's never as bad as it seems. It's never as good as it
Wise
seems.
man once said.
That's it. And that's what you have to keep telling yourself. It's like, yeah, if we lost that game, we go zipping 3. It's dire straits. And you're probably on Suey watch going into the old into the bye, and we would have been dwelling on it for 2 weeks, right? But it's a completely different narrative.
Imagine
winning the game.
Vibes at the
man, I would not have wanted to come in here tonight. If we went zipping 3, I would have been kicking the ground like I tend to do when I get the shits. And, you know, but look,
really
it's completely different.
Faithful. He
Just
sooks it up.
Big wussy boy at times. At times.
That's good.
It's sensational. The Chad, sign for two, son. Here's a pen. Just sign. Here's a name for you, Mads. And I reckon that people were coming for this guy pre-season, and I reckon producer Alex is one who's got him in the gun at times. It's Jakey Lloyd. Right? Lloyd. Consistent as ever. 25 touches on the weekend, and he's a bit of glue in this side at the moment, right?
He's the quiet general.
That's it.
Back.
Marshall's the troops. Has his 25 again? It's like, is he having the 30, 35 that he was having back in his prime? Absolutely not. But him, along with Matty Roberts, distributing off that halfback, the calm heads, the nice kicks, they're the guys who are just keeping it all together at the moment.
Was it one of Matty Roberts' best games?
It was really good. It was a really good game. I reckon he's had a few better than that for mine.
For yours, Deeble.
But very good. Very good game.
Yeah, I thought same with Jakey. Lizard just doing what Lizard does.
And look, I reckon Paps, right? It's about to turn for Paps.
It is.
It's about to turn for the Pap.
That fresh air, he killed me.
Oh, it bobbled on him. It bobbled on him.
You just got to watch the ball.
You do. You
just got to watch the ball.
You got three blokes trying to run
Alex,
you down.
More breaking news.
No, just before you wrap up this segment, the double fister.
Oh, Alex.
Thank God you brought it.
Shoot me down.
Look, this is what I do when I say really bad things. I try and remove them from the mind. But all right.
Just mark the ball, Lizard.
No.
Just mark the ball.
No, right? The double fister is allowed if you're getting it out of bounds.
Over the boundary.
But if we are 45 metres in from each side and you're going the double fister in the last minute 30, I'm going to rattle you next time, Lizard. No more. It's got to go. Mark the ball.
We're not doing this again. We're not having this conversation again.
I would rather him drop that ball than go the double fister again.
Try and take a chest mark and drop it. Right? Drop it. Drop it to your feet. Get a ball up. Do not do that again. We're not having this conversation again.
We are not having this conversation again. No more double fisters,
and it's not just Lizard. It's not just
Lizard.
It was
Melican in opening round.
Yeah.
See, made his way out of the side. We're not having it. Thanks for reminding us, Alex.
That'll probably about wrap us up, I reckon.
That will.
The unbelievable service deals at Chadstone Toyota just keep coming, Deebs. SUV and 4x4 servicing is only $320 and small passenger car servicing only $260, Deeble.
Essential services only. T's and C's apply. Mention this ad to the service team to receive this deal.
Welcome back to True Bloods. How good?
Yes, Mads.
How good? We are back.
Bloods are back, baby.
We are back.
We're back
with Alex. Jumping in with some breaking news, which is fantastic. That's made my night.
Yes, very good.
That has made my night.
Would you? How far have you got the needle now for yours?
For mine, it's there. We're home.
Home.
We're home.
Signed, sealed, delivered.
As soon as he did that, we're home.
Yeah, there's plenty in it.
You don't need Cal Toomey to tell me that he's signing. It's good for the confirmation, but I don't need Cal Toomey to tell me that.
You build
that is all you need, Deebs.
Yeah, you build your own opinions.
I build my own narrative.
Yeah, mate. That's what you drive. We drive the Swans narrative, all right? It's good. It's what we do.
But I just, I'm thrilled. It's really exciting because people, the pressure's off us. People have forgotten about us. Yeah. They actually have. They've forgotten about us. Do you remember, Deeble?
Do you remember?
Do you remember?
I do. I remember. It's
we're going to hit our straps now, and there's nothing that's going to stop us. I'm telling you.
After the bye, I think we maybe might see Millsy after the bye. I think that was the talk. Depends how the old plantar fasciitis is going.
You know what?
Mads.
I'm not rushing him.
No,
get it right.
You give him the time, and I think we've sort of seen it with Doss, right? I think he had that interrupted pre-season, but they've got the work into him. They didn't play him too early. He played his time in the VFL, and I think that's what we need to do with Millsy too. Whether Millsy plays VFL or not, I'm not too sure. But you know, when they're ready to go,
it's got to be a big earning your spot pod. I think it's got to be a big earning your spot pod. I think everybody.
We don't just give our games. At the Bloods, do we?
Nobody is owed anything at this football club.
You're right.
At this podcast or this football club.
Absolutely.
You gotta earn your keep.
For sure.
Very good. Now, you got down to Victoria Park
I did.
on Saturday. Talk us
did.
through that, Deeb.
Well, it was lucky that I looked at the fixture because I was nearly making my way to Collingwood's training facility because that's where they played last year. Gosh's Paddock, whatever you want to call it down there. And I had a look, and it was at Vic Park. So that was a good thing that I checked. But glorious afternoon down there, Mads. It was my type of weather. Sure. I'm talking 22, 23 degrees, sun's out, guns out, little bit of tanning going on, got the sunglasses on.
I'm picturing shirt off, sort of Paulie walnuts outside Satrials with the big aluminium thing.
Walk back up the street, got myself a double shot iced latte with a sausage roll, a little bit of tomato sauce, how's that for vibes?
Yeah,
mate?
It's good vibes.
I set the tone early on. It was a shame that the VFL boys couldn't get it done, but we might hear from Catsy to sort of get the lowdown quickly. And I'm
actually excited to hear the dulcet tones once again.
It's good.
Mads, Deebs, faithful. She's kicked off in the Magoos, and it was a hard slog at Vic Park versus the Pies that saw us go down by 25 points in a relatively low-scoring affair. Paying his penance for his sins, Caden Cleary was out of the blocks with a BOG performance through the guts, racking up 37 possessions.
Great.
Acting the rock down back was Aaron Francis, who put in a solid display, though the gap between his VFL dominance and AFL competence is something only our happy clappers can ignore. Will Green had a solid display in the ruck. I was tough on him last year with his bruise-free footy and walking between the contests, but I'm happy to say the big fella is putting on some size and getting stuck into the contest. I acknowledge it's a work in progress when it comes to these young ruckmen. It was good to see Jack Buller get back into normal play, and one could argue he was unlucky not to convert. He stays fit. He's a big watch this year. I'll be taking a bit more notice of the non-AFL listed lads this year, and with good reason. Some of them are putting up solid performances like the skipper Nick Shipley, dominating alongside Cleary. This may be one to watch at the mid-season draft, but we'll leave that to the Boffins. I was looking forward to banging on about new recruit Briley Bice week in, week out, but evidently our mature age Werribee recruit has taken his chance and looks as comfortable as a Chadstone Toyota Land Cruiser Sahara at a City of Stonington school pickup. Fellow draftee Ned Bowman got on the scoreboard but was largely quiet. I expect him to build, but hopefully Kinnear wasn't sinking Doozies this draft like he was when he skipped Sarong for Stevens. Time will tell. Riak Andrew and Jesse Totoli are a time away in the medical room, but make no mistake, we will be seeing them build their craft in the Magoos. That'll do. Up the potty, up the bloods.
Yes.
It's a travesty we haven't had him on the pod yet. It's a travesty. The way that man can turn a phrase is like no other.
He's a big company man too. He really knows what we're doing here. He gets the vibes. He plugs the sponsors. He does it all. He's got the Doozies in there. He's got the Chadstone Toyota in there. Catsy's just the guy. But
good stuff.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. Caden Cleary was a level above down there, mate. He was really clean. That was the biggest thing that I took out of how he played down there, out of contest. Looked like he had a point to prove after, the mishap in the preseason. He really looked like he was I would nearly bank on him making the way into the side. He's the next one up.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
He was really good.
Sounds like he's too good for VFL.
And just that speed out of contest too. He was able to break away from contest, look for the targets, and he was really good, mate. Impressive first hit out for Clears.
Knocking the door down, which we love. Competition for spots.
Yeah.
Competition for spots.
And it's one thing that we need with the injury list. That we sort of have going on as long as your arm.
As long as my arm, very long arm, faithful.
Yes. So, no, it's definitely something to look for. And someone who turned it on in the first half was one of your men, Mads.
Wow.
The Intercept King. We'd love to get him on a T-shirt here at True Bloods. It was Aaron Francis. He was marking
Aaron
everything.
Francis guy.
It's funny. You sort of see it with Aaron Francis. He has a bit of it early on. The confidence builds and, then just tries to chew off a little bit more than, Aaron Francis is capable of.
I mean, if you're going to do that, you might as well do that in the VFL.
In the Magoos, because if it comes off, it looks fantastic.
And if it doesn't, you're probably staying down there for good reason.
Yeah, for sure. But and Benny Patton went back to the twos as well.
How did he go?
Had 32. Had a fair bit of it, but I noticed he sort of did turn it over a little bit still. He can build the confidence.
Bit of a turnover merchant.
Yeah, it wasn't the best game live, but, things can be skewed at the game too. Sort of, you notice things, but...
Whereas the wonderful coverage KO does of the VFL game,
yes, that's
God,
it.
you'd rather be there.
That's it. Will Green in the ruck. It's a interesting one to look into. That's sort of his first big hit out in the twos.
Yes.
He's normally been the second or third ruck. He's sort of put on that size, strong legs. He's starting to build. Still probably a good 12 months away, I would say. But, there is a chance we may see him at some stage during the year.
Sure.
Indy Kirk. Jack Buller looked good up forward.
I want to get down there.
Yeah, he wasn't able to quite convert. Kicked the 1-goal-3, Jack Buller. But I would have nearly played him over Laddams before last week.
I've got news for Jack Buller. He's going to be waiting a while now. That Pistol Pete solidified his spot.
Yeah, the running back, Pistol Pete.
Yeah.
So
Saquon Barkley.
Maybe they're competing for different spots, Mads. But yeah, and look, just a lot of VFL listed players getting around. I only think we had maybe the 5 or 6 AFL listed guys getting around. So,
yeah, right. Okay.
A bit going on. But it was a great afternoon down there. It's we definitely got to try and get down there when you're not moving houses and all that. It's a good look on a Saturday when it makes sense.
Yeah, by all means. Now, we love competition for spots. We love people, earning their keep. We love the great ruck rover Pistol Pete Laddams. What do we also love, Deebs?
Scoreboard impact
and
goal kicking midfielders.
And from the faithful.
Social engagement.
A little bit of social engagement.
Look, I was a little bit off track there, but
we got there.
Sometimes you got to lead the horse to water. Yeah, and he eventually got me there, so it's good.
Very good. What did we say today?
We might go with producer Alex because he can read better than I can. So
yeah, sure.
We'll go with Big Al.
Don't talk yourself down. Your real ratings improved out of sight.
Thank you, mate. Thank you.
In just an addition to the first segment, Mitch Cleary has now gone with, if Chad Warner hasn't signed in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it would be a surprise to those around the situation.
Oh, yes.
So,
Needle moving.
I think we're in some very.
If there was a pressure gauge, it'd be getting blown out.
Yeah, it'd be in 200s.
200s. PSI. High pressure.
Hashtag Ask the Faithful. Coxball got the 4 points on the weekend. It's fair to say Coxie has had a few challenges across his desk so far. The injuries and positional changes to name a few. What have you liked? What haven't you liked? And what do you want to see post-bye? So a lot of interaction across the Facebooks, Instagram, and your Twitters. Thanks to Elon. Firstly, we'll stick with Matt Donnelly, no relation. Loved the open and honest chats Coxie has had with fans and media.
Yes.
Not loved the AFL media. Enough said. Post-bye, a fit Mills, and just some consistency in the side.
Yeah, it's a good point, and that's what'll sort of take us from where we sort of sit in the rankings now. If you're giving us an honest ranking, we're probably sitting between 6 and 10 for how we're playing at the moment.
In terms of power rankings, absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
But when we start to get some continuity in our game and some players back, that can move very, very
I'm telling
quickly.
you, there's no stopping us. We're going to be fine. I'm buying.
Buying
Sydney
stocks.
Swans. I'm buying. I'm purchasing. I'm gearing up. Faithful.
It's not financial advice, but he's a big finance guy.
Yep. I'm gearing up. I'm borrowing to buy.
Yes. Okay, that's strong. I like it.
Naomi Page, Biceball, having Corey Warner in the side to give him more experience without the fear of being dropped ASAP. Having the Doss and Laddams in. Jimmy Jordan. Dislike, people piling crap on Amadi. He does a lot people don't notice and has a good work rate around the grounds. Millsy been injured again. What I want to see after the bye, good, consistent Bloods footy.
You know what's funny?
What's funny?
There is, within the wider community and not just the faithful, you're either Team Amadi or you're not. It's pretty bizarre. It's pretty bizarre how polarizing he is.
Divisive character.
He is divisive. Good word, Deebs.
Thank
you. I can understand why he's divisive. I can't understand how passionate people get about it. Sometimes I'm like, fucking hell, Joel. Come on, Joel. But some people literally don't want him on our list. And I think that's insane. Yeah. I think that's criminally insane with the output that we get out of him.
I think I sort of touched on it last week, right? When he converts his goals, the talk isn't what it is. Like, he's only had the 8 or 9 touches once again this week, but he's kicked his opportunities, right? It's when he misses, people jump on and they're like, oh, he's only had 11 touches, he's kicked 0 goals, 3, he's no good. But he does so much work in the air. He competes every week.
Yep.
And it was pretty tough on the weekend after coming off with that corky as well. So if I was buying stocks, Mads, like you tend to do from time to time, I'd be buying Marty stocks.
Sure.
Big
Back
financial pod.
Big financial pod. This could be a future segment. Who are we buying? Who are we selling?
There's a fair bit in it. I'm big on segments.
Yeah,
big segment guy.
Big segment guy. I don't know. What do you think, Gal?
I think that you notice the things that he does well, but you also notice the things that he does terribly.
Why him?
Because there was a lot of attention that was phrased on him as soon as he kicked the 9 goals.
Yeah.
It's because
The 9 goals was a curse as well as a
But he
blessing.
will take a very good pack mark and look good, and then the next contest he will look like he's 35 kilos, dripping wet, and get thrown off the footy.
Baby giraffe.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. I agree. It's just interesting. Some people legitimately don't want him on our list. Yeah, interesting. Yep, I agree with all of that, though.
So Fordington Karen has just posted a photo of James Jordan.
Yeah.
In a Melbourne jersey.
Yes.
Guernsey.
Interesting.
But we
But
do
no,
like
JJ's doing plenty.
What a disgrace.
I would say he is leading our best and fairest.
Yeah, well, it'll be in terms of the KPIs, if you will, Deebs.
Yes.
For which they judge it upon, yes, he would be 100% leading our best and fairest. Haven't Melbourne fumbled this? Haven't they fumbled this?
It's a great steal, Jimmy Jordan.
There's another podcast, Deebs, that I listened to ahead of opening round last year.
Sure.
And they were rinsing the fact that we had recruited the great James Jordan. And look at him now.
Have a look at him now.
Surplus to requirements for them because with their elite midfield, surplus to requirements. Cop that.
Yes. Clip that up. Oh, very good.
Dean Panagopoulos likes Bison Wicks down back, dislikes the form of Florent and Haywood.
Yeah, the
Ice cold.
The Doozy boys are a little bit cold at the moment. I think Oflo on the weekend didn't have the errors that he had in the past couple of weeks, but did not get enough of it. Not impacting how we needed it to. We sort of backed him with the big ground over there in WA. But yeah, the form's a little bit concerning, but you don't hang out your players to dry when they're a little bit out of form. It's not like, oh, kick him out, get him out of here. It's you got to stick fat, and I think winning the 4 points this week makes a big difference to that.
Winning is the great deodorant.
Yeah.
Papers over the cracks, Deebs. But in the same vein that people have to earn their spots, you have to understand that, people have runs on the board, and you understand the form that players can get into, and that's why you give them the benefit of the doubt and allow them to get continuity, because I'll tell you what, it doesn't help form, Deebs, necessarily. You can go back to the twos and you can find form.
Yeah.
That's for mine, Deeble.
For yours, Matt.
That's not what you do with an Ollie Florent.
Yeah.
Ollie Florent is just going to find it again, right? He's not going to go. You're not sending Ollie back to the twos currently.
No.
I just don't think it's going to help.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think we just saw he's got enough runs on the board. He's got his 150 games. It's ultra consistent last year. Everyone sort of go, oh, he turned it over last year heaps and, top 5 for turnovers, where Ollie's one of the players who had the license, like Errol. Errol had the most clangers in the league last year. Yeah, Errol had it a hell of a lot more than Ollie Florent, but I think Florent still averaged over 20 touches last year. So, you stick fat with an Ollie, and I think Wilbur is sort of in the same vein.
Kicked an important goal.
As Tommy Papley as well. I don't think Wilbur's horribly out of form.
Not getting enough of it,
just
though.
not getting enough of it in impacting.
Not getting the looks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Errol Goulden's left boot.
Yes.
Likes Wicks in defence, Chad's tackling, Bice down back, winning at the contest. He doesn't like McCartin forward, not enough handball chains. Lloyd, Florent and Heaney all look a little bit lost in this new system, but they may be just adjusting to it and a touch out of form.
Don't worry about Heaney. Heaney's playing a role out of necessity currently. But this sounds like a bit of a online dating profile. You'd probably have a better understanding of this than my likes. Errol Goulden's left boot.
Yes, that's in my profile, actually. It's funny you say
if
that.
It's not, it should be. Sam Wicks down back is an absolute revelation.
Yeah.
It doesn't get talked about enough. And this is the thing about Cox ball. This is what we're getting. This is the price of admission for the Dean Cox show. You get to see Sam Wicks be very angry and aggressive down back. And I mean, again, if you don't hear their name a great deal, that's fine because you're not hearing their opponent's name as well. And he's doing a great job. And it's like anything, it's going to be a learning curve. But I couldn't be happier. Could not be happier with the way Wixie's sort of gone about this transitional period in his career.
Yeah, big subscriber to, while I'm talking subscribers, subscribe to the YouTube. But yeah, big subscriber to what Wixie's doing. He's been fantastic. Revolution. It's saved his career. We'll keep banging on about it.
It's a revolution.
It's an
the
absolute
Sam Wicks revolution.
You know, we're big Wixie pod. It may not have started the best ways with the family and all that, but we're big Wixie guys now. Big Wixie guys.
Massive Wixie guys.
The thing that Errol's left boot has said there over on your Twitters, was it Twitters? I think, Alex. It's the handball chains is a big thing that I've sort of noticed as well.
Yep.
We're not going to it enough.
No.
And the only time I'm sort of seeing it is when it's dire straits and we've got to go and we've got to get the transition going. I think we've got to take on the game a little bit more,
Yep.
and I wouldn't mind seeing, a bad turnover or two if you see the intent there.
I think this kind of all comes into the fact that, they're feeling out the new coach, and the new coach is sort of trying things, and they're getting used to the way things are going to be moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. And I think a lot of new coaches build their side's defense.
Yep.
We haven't conceded a big score yet, which is a great sign.
Fantastic.
But we probably haven't done it offensively
Yep.
enough yet either. So look, feeling it out. Once we start to smooth out those edges,
We talk about
we'll be
the
right.
clunkiness against Freo. Just as an aside, it was 35 degrees.
Yeah,
Hot
over there.
So you can't sort of leave that out of the equation. But anyhow,
Tough conditions. So would you go sort of Tommy Flanagan areas after the Brisbane game, where we big exhaustion of players over in the D5 and play the kids?
Hey, just on that, did you notice, I don't know if you were watching the first quarter, did you notice how Freo went inside the rooms?
Yes, at quarter time.
I'm just curious as to whether we had the option of that
Yeah,
and we just chose not to. Because if we didn't have the option of that, I'll be making a formal complaint. Because nobody keeps my boys out in the heat
Yes.
when there's another option there. But yeah, I thought that was weird.
Yeah,
Both teams had the opportunity due to the heat policy.
And Dean said,
you
piss
boys can
off,
slay that
piss
out
off,
of
you wussy boys. We're standing in the Perth sun.
Yeah, very good. I reckon they were in the shade. Would say it was okay, but yeah.
Sure.
At least we know. At least you can
And
put
I
your head
can-
on the pillow tonight, and you don't have to get up in the morning and write a formal
Yeah,
letter to the
correct.
club,
Which I've done
or the
before.
AFL.
Which I've done before, whether it's the MCC or the AFL.
Very good. Jono did an Arto for mine.
For
yours.
yours, Jono.
Liked Wixie as the lockdown defender. Bice, Braden Campbell, Chad looking explosive AF, Heaney, Grundy, and a few other players building for a big 2025. Haven't liked the forward line entries. Skill under pressure and bad kicking is bad football.
That's right.
Post by, I want to see T-Mac as the swingman. Think Sam Reid, but not made of paper mache. Play him in both spots where it's appropriate. And Errol's return.
Yeah, love it.
Errol's return will be sort of like the return, I imagine, of King Arthur coming back from the Crusades. This is he will be.
You're
it'll
thinking
be
like an Errol appearing over the hill.
yeah,
or
correct.
Like with
on
like a little
on
bit
some
of
sort
light
of
up there.
some sort of noble steed.
Yes,
yeah.
I can see that.
With
Can
sort of sun behind him. We can get AI can probably assist us with
Yes.
this. I'm sure.
The great Errol Goulden comes over the mountains in the sunlight. Yes, we can do this up. We're big content guys here at True Bloods. Well, the brain's always ticking. Brain's always ticking.
That's going to be massive. If that's at the SCG, that's going to be.
I'll fly up for it.
Oh yeah.
I'll come.
Matt
yeah.
Edwards, 23. Liked. Can't fault the effort of the lads for the first 3 weeks. We've had our chances to be 3 in zip. Now, while nowhere near being our best, which is extremely positive, JJ is an absolute star. Back and mids have been pretty good in the first few weeks.
Yep.
Haven't liked it. Times, I genuinely don't understand what our forward entry plan is. You're not the only one. It seems 70% of the time we're bombing it into the forward line, hoping that a small forward's going to take a pack mark or kicking it to a 2-on-1. More of the footy bison, in brackets, claiming it, continues to be given the license to roam and use that sexy left peg. Now, I have many questions as to who the footy bison with sexy left peg is, because we have a lot of players with a sexy left peg.
Yeah,
We do.
I think he's referring to Bicey with this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, the entries into 50, while a concern, I think it just requires a little bit more thinking, because as much as we don't like it, and the must as frustrating as it is, you're always going to get that long kick nearly half the time. I would say, yeah, it's a long kick in.
Hard disagree.
No,
I disagree with you.
When are you ever just put sexy footy into the 50?
No, it's not about sexy footy. It's just about possessing the football. And this comes back to not panicking.
Yeah.
Right? This comes back to composure. This is controlling the football, having the game on your terms, getting the game on your terms. Because if it's on your terms and you take a mark on the wing or you take a mark in the center of the ground, you can have a look. And this isn't about our halfbacks or our mids not making the choice to do this. This is 50% on them, 50% on our forwards leading in the correct pattern.
Yeah.
Right? And giving them an option, right? There's so many times on the weekend that you saw us with the ball outside 50 and there's nothing to kick to because there's no one leading.
Yeah.
There's no one leading. So it's not like the forwards are doing everything that they can to get a chest mark out on the lead. Look at the way Fremantle were entering forward 50.
Yeah.
Look at the way they were delivering it towards Tracy. We can do that.
100% we can, but they were defending a lot better at contests than we were.
That's what I'm saying. This is what it comes down to. It comes down
100%.
to controlling the game, having the game on your terms.
And I think where I'm getting at with that long ball thing is you look at that last passage of play with Armadi, right? That was set up and calculated.
Yeah.
Right. Although it's a long banging, that's a hoping kick.
But that wasn't
right?
to 6 people in a pack.
Exactly right. And that's what you have to look at when you're kicking it. That long ball where you're still hoping for something is always going to be in there. And that's what I mean. It's majority of that compared to sexy footy inside. And do we want to see the sexy footy coming inside 50 and, just hitting up that leading player? Absolutely we do. But I just don't think it is ever going to happen as much as everyone wants it to.
No, it's not. But that ball that Rowbottom kicked to Amadi is not what I don't think anyone's talking about that in relation to bombing it in. That's fine. If you're kicking it like that inside 50, that's fine because it's a one-on-one and you're likely going to win it. The ones that I'm frustrated with are the literally high up and under hospital balls to a pack of 6 people where your percentage of winning is 10%.
Yeah,
that's what I'm infuriated with.
Yeah.
And there's no place for entering the forward 50 like that. It's panicked and it's not composed.
Yeah,
And it's not how we should be operating.
I agree. I don't want it to be happening, but I think it's not part and parcel, but it's when the pressure is great on the ball carrier and the side is defending well, you are going to get a lot of that in a lot of games. And that's what, and even last year where there were stages where it was bad in that sort of, that clunk of 6 games where we couldn't bloody hit water falling out of a boat.
But I'm not going to sit here and say that it's just part of our game.
No.
You've got to fix it. You've got to be a bit more composed under pressure and know that even if the ball carrier is under pressure, and again, this comes back to the forwards as well. You need to be giving reasonable options.
Yeah.
In the forward 50.
There's 100% lack of movement.
Yeah.
But do you think this is what we get when we're as tall as we are? Like we were on the weekend?
Part of it, but again, my point about Freo. Freo are a pretty tall forward line as well.
Yeah.
And they'll move.
It's
They're
interesting.
on the move.
It's interesting discussion, isn't it, Faithful?
It is.
Very good.
Alex Kinnead, loving bias JJ Wicks. T-Mac should start back and go forward when needed, similar to Sicily. Again, don't like the bombing into the forward line in the first 2 games. I think everyone's sick of that already. I'd like to see them put a few of the reinforcements through the 2s, get some game time into them rather than rush them in, especially Mills, Cunningham and McDonald, who haven't had much prep.
Yeah.
So
Rushed them
Mills
in last
definitely
year.
needs time in the 2s for mine.
For yours. Yeah. Then just going back to the bombing. It's like I think a lot of that will change with the intent out of the midfield. It's like we're talking about those handball chains, right? You get those quick ball movement, hands, and then someone can get up and hit up at the ball carrier compared to, when it's a bit slow, it's hard to get going. So it's funny. It always comes back to the line and line before.
It's a sum of all the parts.
Big sum of all parts.
But it is.
It is, 100%.
It's not, you can't put blame on any one line, right?
Sure.
It's everybody's got to be playing their role in terms of how you deliver the ball into forward 50. And it's critical. And once we get it right, this is why I'm saying I'm buying, because once we get it right, we're going to be bloody hard to stop.
Bloody oath.
Darren Williams, like Bison Wicks, it seems a very, very cohesive group that we all like Bison Wicks.
God, how funny. Bison played, 5 quarters, and everyone's like, yep, love him.
Yeah.
Love him.
Mate,
and it's obvious.
Yeah,
Tim Donnelly, my father, has called him Jordan Dawson 2.0 at a tenth of the price.
People are saying Malcheski.
Yeah, I reckon he's got Malcheski covered for dash athleticism. I reckon he's got Dawson covered for athleticism as well.
And following on with Darren
Dawson's
Williams,
pretty rangy, though.
He is.
I saw him tear it up at the MCG on Saturday, but in fairness, the three of you could do that against Essendon. Anyway, Darren wants to see Caden Cleary in ASAP.
Yep.
Hopefully he's learned his lesson. And already mentioned the out-of-form Will Haywood and Ollie Florent are his dislikes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'd be buying Caden Cleary stocks this year.
Purchase?
Catsy's been big on him last year.
His stocks would have tanked, so you're buying at a good time.
Yeah,
buying
mate.
very low.
Financial advisement pod. Buy stocks.
That probably wraps us up. That's good social engagement.
Yeah, we love it. I reckon by round 3, we're going to get the voices set back up.
Bloody oath.
Because especially after a win, the voices bring it home like Pete Campbell from Bendigo.
That'll be your little project there, Al. Oh, actually, you, Alessi. There we go.
Just hook it up to the roadie. We'll work it all out. I'm a music producer in my.
We'll be back. Here's a word from our sponsors.
Very good. Let's go. Mads, Dingo Landscape and Designer on board again for this month. How good is that? Pat and the team have been phenomenal supports of ours. And how good's the work they do in the eastern suburbs of Sydney?
Oh, Deebs, as I've said, it's always been my dream to have a place in Melbourne and a place in Sydney. And if I was lucky enough to get that place in Sydney, I'd be calling Pat from Dingo Landscape.
For sure, mate. I'm a big pavers guy back in the back garden.
Big pavers guy.
Make sure you give Pat a call. I've got his phone number here, Mads. It's 0408 485 397. If you're looking for a first, second year, third year apprenticeship, get in contact with Pat, give him a call, and he provides free quotes as well.
Oh, yes, he does.
So just once again, that number 0408 485 397. Call Pat for all your inquiries. Welcome back to True Blood. Yes, Mads.
We're back.
We're
on.
Right. See, all we needed was one win.
Just one. It only takes one.
We're just like a well-oiled machine in here, mate. It's good to be back when you're winning games of footy, singing the song, clapping at the riser, having your Cape Grim ribeye.
Let's just quickly run over that. It was a phenomenal win. Like, I don't think we've spoken of individuals, but the gutsiness to we were at one stage 4 goals down.
Yeah.
It
was just that bit of grit. Sometimes you just got to find a way to win, and that's what we did. And you can have all the discussions. Were we the better team? Were we this? Were we that? It's like at the end of the day,
just got to get the 4 points.
We gutsed it out, got the 4 points, and
it's not easy to do that in Perth.
Nah,
going over there,
35 degrees, mate. We've talked about the injury list as long as your arm, and it's just a really good win. Really good to get Coxball going, new coach, players coming back. It's just really good to set the tone for the season.
You bet.
Now, Mads, we were at the Rising Sun on Saturday, and guess what?
Well, yes.
We're going to be back there this week. Live event. I reckon there's 7 tickets left to the live show.
Yes.
So get in fast. Link will be in the description. Lunch is included, Mads.
Lunch is included.
We're going to get your schnitzel.
You get a prawn linguine.
Well, yeah, exactly right. All your chicken parmesan. Or I even think
you know what I'll be having?
Yeah, what?
The curry.
Yes. The tofu curry. We've got your vegan options here at True Bloods and the Rising Sun as well.
GF option. And look, Al, I'm not going to be sitting there eating a steak while everyone else is eating a Parma. You know, I'm going to play the game.
Yeah, you got to play the game.
Got to play the game.
Exactly right. So make sure you get onto that very quick as they are selling like hotcakes. Only a few days left, faithful.
It's going to be good.
But yeah, JPK down there.
It's going to be fantastic.
The quiz is done.
Tell you
Mads.
what, yeah.
It's live and interactive. I can control it from the screen, so looking forward to that.
Download Kahoot. Kahoot ahead of time.
We didn't go with Kahoot.
We didn't go with
no,
Kahoot.
because you can only have 3 players on Kahoot for free, and we're tired asses here. So we went with something called Slido. So there's going to be a QR code.
So we've gone with Kahoot from Temu. Beautiful.
No, it's way better. We've got a QR code. All you need to do is bring your phone along and you can
The old
play.
dog and bone, dude.
The old dog and bone, mate. So that's all sorted. And I think we're going to have a door prize.
Yes.
Last man standing door prize, which will be a little bit of fun throughout the afternoon. And just a whole barrel of laughs,
We're
mate.
going to be attempting to crack bulk gags.
Yeah.
Now, some of it may be funny. Some of it
May fall.
will definitely be funny, and some of it may fall absolutely flat.
On deaf ears.
But this is the first time that we're really having a crack at this, like organising it ourselves. So please be patient, but we'll try and make it as well of an oiled machine as we possibly can.
We will. Now the tipping, Mads. How did you go tipping extraordinaire over there?
Good. I think I got 6 out of 8.
You did. I got the 6 as well. Happened to tip Essendon, which I don't know why I did that.
Do you know what's cooked? I would ordinarily always have tipped North over Melbourne. I don't know why I tipped Melbourne. It's insane.
We know how big you are on the D's. You love that club.
Yeah,
so
I love the D's.
You must have just saw the Melbourne Demons and clicked it
Accidental.
automatically.
Tip.
So Thursday night footy, Mads, Essendon v Port Adelaide at Marvel Stadium. Don Dome, as they like to call it.
Don Dome.
Yes.
It will probably be emptier than usual, I would imagine.
Yes.
They do tend to rock up in their numbers, but I think there's certainly a lot of Essendon supporters I know are fed up.
They are.
They are fed up with what their club is dishing out after giving so much and receiving very little in return. I would suggest that if Port Adelaide were to put them to the sword at Don Dome, this is going to be danger zone.
Could that be the straw that broke the camel's back?
It could be.
Yeah.
Very
sure.
good. Is it a rebuild?
Oh, it's nearly there.
Their fans keep telling me on TikTok it's a rebuild, even though they've had chances to make the finals the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good. Carlton, Western Bulldogs on Friday night. Don Dome again.
Western Bulldogs.
Don Dome.
Yeah, Don Dome.
Yes. Carlton. No.
Yep.
I don't even know.
Dogs.
Bulldogs?
Darcy to kick 9.
No, he's a player, isn't he? He looked good on,
he's a
on
player.
Friday night
He's
against
a
the
player.
Players.
He's just so tall and athletic. It's nuts.
Talk about marking the ball at its peak.
Yeah, correct.
That's what Darcy does better
Nothing
than anyone
can get
else in the comp.
past him.
Very good player.
Yeah.
Melbourne and Gold Coast at the MCG. What a test for the Gold Coast.
Big test for the Gold Coast. Big test for Melbourne too.
That midfield. Is it as good as everyone says it is?
Well,
You got
we'll
your
find out.
Petrarcas, you got your Olivers.
But they
Jack
don't need
Viney's.
Jimmy Jordan, do they?
No.
So you'd hope you can get a win, because Jimmy Jordan's just fine. I'll tell you that much. But look, Melbourne should bounce back here. I'm going to go with Melbourne.
You know what I love seeing from Melbourne, though?
What's
You
this?
said coach just cocking it up in the media again. How good's that? Like, continually just making mistakes. You don't see that from the mighty Schwannies, so very good. See?
All it'll take is one Dean Cox mistake and he'll just tighten right up. Go back to the John Longmire School of Media Training.
That's it. But I'm going to go with the Gold Coast.
Gold
there.
Coast. Wow, that'll be danger zones for the Melbourne Football
Very good.
Club.
St Kilda versus Richmond at Marvel as well.
Sainers, they were mighty impressive on Saturday night against the Catters.
That was the interesting one of the round, wasn't it? For
Fascinating.
Sure.
Fascinating.
St Kilda for mine too.
for yours, Deeble.
Brisbane versus Geelong at the Gabba Saturday night.
That'd be Brisbane.
Brisbane for mine
For
too.
yours.
Hawthorn v GWS. UTAS down in Tassie.
Hawthorn.
GWS. Adelaide versus North Melbourne.
North Melbourne.
Is that a quietly really interesting game?
It is. It's fascinating.
Everyone getting nods from everyone.
It's fascinating.
North Ball, what did you think of
North
that?
Ball. Well, see, do you know why I don't really rate Adelaide that much? Because you can't do what you did to a team like Essendon and give up 15 goals.
Yes.
That, for mine, Deeble,
For yours,
that
Mads.
is a concern. You can't be giving up 100. You can't be giving up 3 figures.
Yeah, I'm with you.
In a demolition job like that. Essendon were insipid. Insipid. And they've kicked over 100 points, Deeble.
Are you big on the Adelaide train, AD?
Got them in the top 8 this year. Having seen them up close on Saturday, their theory is going to be, you may kick 15 goals, but we're going to kick 30.
Yeah,
that
right.
forward line is
Sure.
sexy.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Phil Thorpe? What is it?
Thorpe.
Riley Philthorpe, the Man Mountain.
The Man Mountain.
But yeah,
Big
that
beard.
doesn't hold up in finals, though.
I don't think so.
Interesting. West Coast and Freo, the
Ooh,
Derby.
Grenache Hour Derby. That's
Yes.
nice.
Freo.
Yeah. Josh Tracy is the next Matthew Pavlich. I'm not joking about that. He's a gun.
Good player.
Yeah.
Good player. That just about wraps us up.
That wraps us up. We'll see you on Saturday at about midday at the Riser.
Rising
I
Sun,
can't bloody wait to see all your wonderful faces.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing the faithful down there. But this has been True Bloods, the #1 independent Sydney Swans fan podcast. We're #1 in your hearts, Mads, and we're #1 on the charts. We're speaking words of wisdom up the potty.
Deebs, I need a wheel alignment. Where do I go? What do I do?
Well, Mads, book your wheel alignment in at Chadstone Toyota, 1547 Dandenong Road in Oakley. It's $99. And if you get 4 new tyres fitted by Chadstone Toyota, you get a free premium wash on the house.
T's and C's applied. Just mention this ad and you're good to go. Oh, what a feeling.